Welcome to Hidden Diary. Hope you have a great time in here.
After leaving the studio, Camila happened to run into her husband, who was taking his brother's sister to the hospital. Looking at their tightly clasped hands, Camila knew her marriage had come to an end. When their eyes met, Lucas froze and immediately let go of her hand. Done with work? Get in. I'll drive you home. Camila opened the passenger side door and locked eyes with the girl sitting inside. Hi, Cammy sis. I didn't know this was your usual seat, but my leg's injured and it's hard for me to move. Could you sit in the back? Helen Lou stuck out her tongue awkwardly, wearing an apologetic look. Before Camila could respond, Lucas Fu spoke for her. Cammy, Helen sprained her ankle at the office today. I'll take you home first, then bring her to the hospital. Sit in the back, okay? Camila pressed her lips tightly together. She didn't say a word. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the rear door handle, but it quickly returned to normal. All the way there, Helen chirped nonstop beside Lucas like a little bird. Hey, Lucas. This ornament looks familiar. Isn't this the Hello Kitty I told you I liked before? I didn't expect you to buy it too. Lucas, your cologne smells amazing. Is it the Gucci one I gave you? You must really like the scent. I noticed you don't use any of the ones other coworkers gave you, just mine. Lucas. Helen's chatter was making Camila restless. She looked up and froze when she saw a rarely tender expression flash across Lucas's face. After 7 years, she more or less understood him. She knew that a man who was always cold and distant with others, who disliked noise and maintained a perfect image, would only show that kind of expression in front of Helen Lou. Camila's hands clenched tightly on her lap. Her heart felt unbearably heavy, and she turned her head to stare out the window. Helen, quiet down. Through the rearview mirror, Lucas saw Camila close her eyes, brows slightly furrowed in exhaustion. He interrupted Helen's babbling. It looked like he was being considerate of her. Camila let out a self-deprecating laugh inside. If she hadn't seen the black lace panties in the car's console and the gold nameplate that read Executive Assistant Helen, she might have really believed Lucas was being considerate, rather than just pretending in order to deceive her. Cammy, I've got work next month and won't be able to accompany you to New York City. That's fine. I can go on my own. Camila opened her eyes and replied calmly. Lucas didn't notice her change in tone, or maybe he just didn't care anymore. She couldn't recall exactly when it began, but Lucas had started coming up with all kinds of excuses to get out of their dates. Eventually, he stopped making excuses altogether and would just say he was busy. But this time was different. This time, Camila hadn't planned on taking him along anyway. When they got home, Camila got out and walked toward the house. Just before entering, she turned around and saw Helen leaning toward the driver's seat, planting a kiss on Lucas's cheek. Her eyes flew open. She clenched her fists as pain like a needle piercing her palm surged to her heart. Her eyes moistened. She didn't move until the Rolls-Royce disappeared from sight. Only then did she return to the house. She went to the safe and pulled out everything that had once proved their love. Jewelry, letters, 7 years of marriage. And Lucas had remained consistent. Contrary to what outsiders believed, he hadn't left her lonely. He remembered what she liked, brought her a bouquet of roses every night after work, and even cooked for her himself. The year he loved her most, he rented out every big screen in the plaza on her birthday and bought 990,000 roses just to say one sentence, "Happy birthday. I love you." She had begun to look forward to the scent of his woody cologne every night, to sleeping in his arms, to waking up each morning and seeing him there. But she never expected that she would be the first to lose in this relationship. Camila's hands trembled as she opened the first letter. To Cammy, tomorrow is our big wedding day, and I can't sleep. Just thinking that starting tomorrow, you'll completely be mine. It makes my heart feel like it's about to jump out. You once told me that humans aren't creatures of long-lasting love, that staying loyal until death goes against nature. But I'm willing to bet my life on this, in this lifetime. I'll love no one but you. But Lucas, you broke your promise. This wasn't the first time she suspected him of cheating. One night she heard the doorbell, opened the door, and saw Helen supporting a drunken Lucas inside. Their eyes met. Helen's were provocative. Camila's face darkened, but she said nothing, until, while tidying up for him, she found an opened box of condoms in his pocket. That was when her heart finally died. Camila wiped away the tears at the corner of her eyes and resolutely threw all the letters into the trash. 7 years of marriage. And whatever the Fu family had done to help the Songs, she had long since repaid it. From now on, Lucas Fu would no longer appear in her life plans. She opened her phone and saw a message from him. Helen got hurt at work. I felt bad, so I took her to the hospital. Don't overthink it. What do you want to eat? I'll bring it back. This was the first time he'd ever explained something like this to her. But no matter what Lucas was thinking, Camila no longer cared. After all, they wouldn't be involved with each other much longer. She had spent 7 years learning how to be a good Mrs. Fu. If even that couldn't warm Lucas's heart, she wouldn't force it. After replying half-heartedly, Camila made a call. Designer Song. What a surprise call. I remember, aside from the New York City project, there's also one in Ciudad B. Switch it. I want next month's business trip changed to Ciudad B. The next morning, Camila brought a pot of congee she had cooked all morning to the Fu Corporation. In the early years of their marriage, Lucas traveled constantly for business to build up Fu Corp, and eventually developed stomach problems. Camila learned how to make health-preserving congee and delivered it rain or shine for 7 years. But this time, she wasn't here out of concern for Lucas. She just wanted to see for herself what kind of woman the specially appointed little assistant Helen really was. Just as she stepped into the elevator, Camila was stopped at the door by the executive assistant. Ma'am, President Fu, he's currently unavailable to receive visitors. Camila's brows furrowed, and her expression turned cold. What? I'm considered a visitor now? She ignored the attempt to stop her and pushed the door open. The moment she stepped inside, she saw the two of them on the sofa, Lucas close behind Helen Liu, the air between them thick with ambiguity. Oh! Helen flushed at the sight of Camila and slowly stood up, feigning surprise. Cammy sis, did you bring congee for Lucas again today? My zipper was undone just now, so I asked him to help. You don't mind, do you? Faced with such a flimsy excuse, Camila's gaze darkened. This wasn't their first encounter, but it was the first time she truly examined the young woman before her. That bright, youthful face held an intoxicating mix of innocence and freshness, while the subtly upturned corners of her eyes were laced with allure and ambition, so dangerously tempting to men. Her crisp work outfit, bare face still stunning enough to turn heads, from head to toe. She was exactly like Camila herself 7 years ago. Lucas Fu had quietly given Helen countless privileges. He had ordered everyone in the company to address Camila as Madam, but allowed Helen to call her Cammy sis and to call him Lucas. People always allowed more from what they favored. His attitude was the answer. No wonder Lucas could brazenly flirt with Helen right here in the office. Camila suddenly felt an overwhelming weariness, but her voice remained calm. I don't mind. After all, you're just friends. I trust Lucas. Looking up, she caught Lucas's eyes for a moment, and saw a flicker of panic that he quickly hid. He strode toward her and wrapped his arms around her from behind. Camila caught the scent of a perfume, YSL Libra, a fragrance she had never worn. I thought you had the day off. Why'd you wake up early to bring me congee? Makes me feel guilty. I've got a meeting now, but make yourself at home. Later I'll take you to your favorite restaurant. Sound good? Leave the congee here. I'll eat it after the meeting. When she nodded calmly, Lucas secretly sighed in relief and left with a smile. Cammy sis, you don't come to the office often. Want me to give you a little tour? Lucas has introduced me to almost everyone here. Camila, hearing the thinly veiled boast in her words, walked over to the president's leather chair behind the desk and sat down. Helen, now that Lucas isn't here, you don't have to pretend with me if you're not tired. I am. If you looked into it, you'd know I personally designed this office layout. I know this place better than you. If you're here to flaunt Lucas's favoritism to humiliate me, then you've made a mistake. Helen dropped the innocent act, her smile fading into mockery. Then let me get straight to the point. Camila, when will you step down as Mrs. Fu? You already know Lucas's heart has changed, right? Men are just creatures who crave novelty. No man turns down a pretty young thing throwing herself at him. If you keep dragging this out, he still won't come back to you. Don't turn yourself into a bitter old woman. You should know when to cut your losses and walk away. Name your price, whatever it is. I'll have my brother wire it to you. Take the money, divorce him, and leave. Camila looked at her calmly. Money? 7 years ago, I became an internationally renowned designer. My appearance fee for one event is in the tens of millions. Chatting with you here for 20 minutes? That's roughly 50 million. Can you afford that? Helen's brow tightened. She was clearly outmatched. Camila withdrew her gaze, lightly brushing a finger across the wedding photo of her and Lucas on the desk. She lifted it and continued. You say our 7 years didn't count as love. What about the few months you've had with him? He's never lacked young, beautiful women. Even if you push me out, you'll just become another version of me one day. He didn't love the woman he married for family alliance. He certainly won't love a pretty face with nothing else to offer. Lucas doesn't have a heart. He only loves himself. Time hadn't killed his love. Time had only revealed his true nature. Camila stood up, picked up the congee, and turned to leave. Lucas didn't deserve the heartfelt effort she'd poured into cooking it all morning. But Helen, stung by her words, grabbed her arm and refused to let her go, snapping back defiantly. How dare you say he doesn't love me? We've tangled on that sofa dozens of times, in hotels 20 times, at my place 3 times. He whispers sweet nothings, takes me abroad. Did you ever get that? Camila's chest tightened, and her lips curled into a mocking smile. How pitiful. He only loves your body, and yet you proudly mistake that pathetic illusion for love. Has he ever truly acknowledged your cheap affection? Jealousy boiled over in Helen's mind, snapping her final thread of sanity. She raised her hand, aiming to slap Camila across the face. Don't you dare talk about him like that. Camila instinctively raised her arm to block the blow. In the scuffle, her thermos was knocked to the floor, and scalding congee splashed onto Helen's hand, burning her. She winced with watery eyes and let out a soft cry. The office door burst open. Camila looked up and saw Lucas striding in, his face dark with anger. Helen, are you okay? I'm fine. I just thought Cammy sis might be bored, so I offered to give her a tour. I think she misunderstood the relationship between you and me. She got a little upset. I grabbed her arm to explain, and I accidentally spilled the congee. I ruined your breakfast. Helen clutched at Lucas's blazer, eyes rimmed with tears. It's okay. I'll have someone bring another one. Let's get you treated first. With that, Lucas lifted her into his arms and turned to leave. His gaze toward Camila grew cold. I'll get Helen some medical help first. Then we'll talk. Talk? Camila couldn't imagine what was left for them to talk about. In truth, Lucas hadn't said anything directly, but his tone already assumed Camila had thrown the congee on Helen Liu out of jealousy. He'd simply taken Helen's word for it, so certain, so quick to believe, without giving Camila even a chance to explain. A mocking smile tugged at Camila's lips as she watched the man's hurried figure disappear from sight. Without hesitation, she went downstairs, hailed a cab, and made a stop at her studio to gather her things. 7 years ago, after their marriage, she had turned down a high-paying offer from a New York City studio just to stay by Lucas's side and take care of him. Instead, she co-founded a studio in J-City with a few friends. A year later, as Fu Corporation expanded rapidly and broke into the top tier of J-City's business circle, their operations extended overseas. The night Lucas secured his first $100 billion deal, he had knelt before her with a diamond ring the size of a pigeon egg. If it weren't for your companionship, there wouldn't be the Lucas of today. To me, you are my entire world. Her heart had trembled then. She knew she had fallen deeply for this man, and no matter what he did to her afterward, she would always pay the price for being moved by that moment. She didn't regret falling in love with Lucas, and she wouldn't regret leaving him either. At the studio, her friends gathered around her in surprise. Cammy, did you just say you're moving to see you dad be for good? Your talent is undeniable. Without you, we wouldn't have come this far in the past 7 years. We don't want to see you waste your brilliance. If you've truly decided, we'll all support you. Camila smiled, eyes glinting with a hint of reluctance. Thank you, everyone. Come visit me and see you dad be sometime. She took her packed belongings and turned to leave. After she left, the others exchanged glances, some sighing softly. Do you think something happened between Cammy and Lucas? Otherwise, would he really let her go to see you dad be alone? No one answered, but their silence was telling. Camila was never a caged songbird. Once she spread her wings, she would never return for anyone. When she got home, Camila received a call from her mother. reminding her of that evening's family dinner and asking her to bring Lucas Fu along. She was just about to respond when she saw a new post from Helen on her social feed. Grateful to have someone by my side when I'm hurt. Her hand paused midair. After a moment of silence, Camila spoke, her voice hoarse. Mom, just set one extra pair of chopsticks. I'll be coming alone tonight. After dinner and some small talk with her family, she returned home close to 11 p.m. Upon entering, she found Lucas sitting on the couch. Why didn't you tell me about the family dinner tonight? I would have gone with you. Aren't you busy? Lucas frowned, clearly confused. I remember you were with Helen the whole afternoon. Camila's voice was calm as she walked past him, heading upstairs without looking back. I was too rash this morning. Helen's brother was in the meeting room at the time. If he'd found out his sister was hurt under my watch, how could I have explained it to him? Lucas reached out and grabbed her wrist. You're jealous? I only see Helen as a sister. Camila lowered her gaze, hiding her emotions as her voice remained flat. Got it. I never thought otherwise. She didn't even have the energy to expose his lie. One lie always led to another. Maybe by now, even he believed his own falsehoods. As for this belated explanation, she had no desire to hear it anymore. Lucas frowned slightly at her indifferent expression. Feeling increasingly irritated, he didn't let go of her hand, instead sliding his palm to her waist. Not tonight. I'm on my period. The moment he touched her, she caught the unfamiliar scent of perfume on him. It made her nauseous. She pried his hand off coldly and walked upstairs, slamming the door shut behind her. Bang! The villa fell silent once more. Lucas stared at the closed door, emotions swirling in his eyes. He didn't know why, but a sense of panic began to creep in, as though something vital was slipping out of his control. The next morning, Camila received a message from Lucas. Fu Corporation's annual gathering would be held at the racetrack. Since she still held a sizable share in the company, she was usually invited, but had often turned it down due to her schedule. This time, however, she agreed to attend. Dressed in a clean, streamlined outfit, she arrived at the racetrack just in time to see Lucas and Helen riding the same horse. His large hand held both the reins and Helen's smaller hand. Given Helen's petite frame, it looked from the side as though Lucas were cradling her entirely in his arms. Madam, it's just because we were short on instructors today. So Assistant Lou asked Mr. Fu to help her out. Yes, exactly. Don't mind it. Before you arrived, Mr. Fu had already taught several others. As Camila stepped into the arena, people immediately rushed to offer Lucas an explanation. No worries, I don't mind. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was just enough for everyone to hear. Lucas turned to meet her gaze, and for some reason, her calm tone didn't sound like she was covering for him. It sounded like she truly didn't care. Camila entered the stables and chose a white horse, leading it into the field. She mounted gracefully, gripped the reins, and cracked her whip. The horse shot forward like an arrow leaving the string. Eyes fixed ahead, wind roaring in her ears, she quickly outpaced everyone else. After 10 full laps, only when sweat soaked her back did she slow to a stop, finally satisfied. As soon as she dismounted, a chorus of admiration broke out around her. Wow, madam, you were amazing. I've never seen anyone ride with such flair. You're my new idol, gorgeous, talented, and even skilled at riding. I'm so jealous that Mr. Fu married someone like you. A crowd of young women gathered around, gushing with compliments. Camila smiled. As she looked up, she saw Lucas had already dismounted and was striding toward her. I didn't think you'd show up this year. When did you learn to ride? I just realized, you look incredible on a horse. Camila's gaze flicked to the base of his collar, where a glaring red hickey was barely concealed. A sharp sting pierced her heart. She gave a faint smile. Long before I married you, I already earned an international certification from BHS. Lucas used to remember every little detail about her. What she liked to eat, what she avoided, even her menstrual cycle. Every time they dined out, he would remind the servers repeatedly, no seafood, no lemon, no cilantro. But now, with Helen by his side, his world had no room for anyone else. Naturally, these once important details faded from memory. It turned out a person's heart could be so small, small enough to hold only one person, the one they cared about most. A gentle breeze passed as Lucas looked at her face. a flicker of emotion stirring within him. He reached out to brush her hair behind her ear, but just as he was about to take her hand, she subtly moved away. Thinking back to what she had just said, Lucas's gaze dimmed, assuming again that she was simply jealous of Helen. He said softly, "I wasn't only helping her, there were others too. Ask anyone here if you don't believe me." Camila, exhausted from endlessly dancing the same step with Lucas, replied with a disinterested mem. She had just turned to leave when a sharp scream rang out behind her. "Move! Get out of the way!" Helen's horse had gone wild, charging toward the crowd out of control. She sat trembling on its back, tugging desperately at the reins, her face drained of all color. Before Camila could react, the horse crashed into her with a violent thud. She was flung several meters away, her forehead slamming to the ground, splitting open in a deep gash. Blood ran down her cheek, pooling beneath her as searing pain surged through her entire body. As though her organs had all shifted positions, she collapsed to the ground, her vision blurred, static buzzing through her brain, her pupils unfocused and fading. Screams echoed in her ears. "Help! She's bleeding so much!" "President Fu, Madam passed out." Through all the chaos, Lucas fled in a panic, with Helen in his arms. Not once did he look back. When she opened her eyes again, a stark white hospital ceiling filled her vision. The sharp scent of antiseptic stung her nose, making her cough and weep involuntarily. She blinked against the soreness in her eyes. She was alone. A nurse rushed in at the sound of her cough and began tending to her. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Finally woke up. You don't have any family or boyfriend around? No one came to see you these past few days." The nurse changed her unwrapped the bandage on her forehead, and applied new medicine. "A young girl like you, so pretty, and now such a big scar on your forehead. Poor thing. Once it heals, you should consider cosmetic surgery." Camila took the mirror. The wound spanned 7 or 8 centimeters, stretching from her forehead to her temple. Her eyes reddened at the sight, but she wouldn't get it removed. This scar was the outward reflection of a deep fracture in her heart, a constant reminder to never again pause for a man who didn't deserve her. Lucas only rushed to the hospital the day she was discharged. Seeing the bandage on her head, guilt and worry flashed across his face for the first time. "Cammy, I didn't know you were hurt." Everything was so chaotic. Helen fell off her horse and broke her wrist. But Camila was beyond drained. She didn't want to hear a word of his explanation. She brushed past his shoulder and walked straight out. Just a few steps later, a stabbing pain shot through her abdomen. She doubled over, gasping for breath, before suddenly vomiting a mouthful of blood. "Are you okay? Lean on me, I'll take you home." Lucas's heart skipped a beat at the sight of her blood-soaked white blouse. He immediately helped her into the car. He opened the front passenger door for her, but she walked around and silently got into the back seat. Lucas's expression darkened, his lips tightened, hesitating as he stared at her pale face. But in the end, he said nothing. He started the car. As soon as they walked into the house, Camila noticed the painting in the entryway had been replaced. It used to be the one she painted for Lucas's birthday, their very first after getting married. Now, it had been swapped out for a landscape piece. In the corner was a tiny signature, "Helen." A sharp pang struck Camila's chest, but it no longer throbbed. It felt more like the mild itch of a mosquito bite. She walked to the storage room and found the old painting. Alongside it were all the artworks she created for Lucas over the past 7 years. Her eyes reddened. She picked up her phone and dialed her exhibition manager. "For the auction 3 days from now. Add a few more pieces to the catalog under my name." Perhaps out of guilt, Lucas actually stayed home from work the next few days to keep her company. He cut fruit and made congee, bringing it into her room, but Camila didn't touch a bite. "Why aren't you eating? I spent the whole morning learning how to make this." Lucas frowned at the now cold bowl of congee. Camila sat on the bed with her tablet, working on a proposal. She didn't even glance at him. No appetite. A strange irritation bubbled inside him. He wasn't sure if it was because she refused to eat his food, or because she seemed completely indifferent. But when his eyes fell on the bandage wound across her forehead, he swallowed the irritation. "Still angry? It was my fault, okay? I'll make it up to you. Jewelry? A date?" His voice grew hoarse as he reached out and slid her tablet away. Leaning in, he brushed her lips with his cool, tentative kiss. It had been so long since they'd last touched like this. The faint floral scent on her skin made his throat tighten, desire igniting in his chest. He wanted to pull her into his arms. But Camilla's brows drew together. She pressed her hands firmly against his chest and pushed him away without hesitation. For the first time, she fully rejected his advances. If she had made an excuse last time, this time, her rejection couldn't be clearer. A panic unlike any he'd known surged inside Lucas. For the first time, his usually calm, emotionless eyes were tinged with confusion. She used to be the one always reaching for him. And now, when he finally reached back, she didn't even want to be touched. Still dazed, Camilla unconsciously rubbed the wrist Lucas had just grabbed. She removed her gold-rimmed glasses and said in a flat voice, "My wound hasn't healed. Let's sleep in separate rooms for now. You take the guest room." "Cammy, what do you mean? I told you. Us sleeping apart has nothing to do with Helen." Lucas's voice cut off instantly. He looked at her calm, emotionless expression, jaw tightening as he turned and left. In their 7 years together, this was the first time a fight had ended so badly. In the past, no matter how they argued, Camilla was always the first to make peace. But not this time. She no longer wanted to be the one who lowered her head first. The day her art exhibition opened, nearly everyone who knew Camilla came to attend. It was a rare opportunity to interact up close with a renowned designer. No one wanted to miss it. Before the gallery viewing, there was to be a charity auction. All proceeds would be donated under her name to support underprivileged children in mountainous regions. After confirming the list of items backstage, Camilla stepped out, only to see Lucas seated in the front row, with Helen beside him. Of course, always by his side, always inseparable. Camilla withdrew her gaze, calm and unreadable, and sat beside her friends. The auction began. The first few items were common jewelry pieces. No one was particularly excited, and bids were half-hearted. When the fourth item arrived, the auctioneer changed his tone, speaking with theatrical suspense. The next few lots are original works, painted by none other than designer Song herself. A wave of excitement rippled through the room. Guests straightened in their seats, eyes gleaming with anticipation. Lucas's brows furrowed. His fingers tapped rhythmically on the armrest. Since their marriage, Camilla hadn't sold any of her artwork publicly. Her paintings were in high demand and incredibly rare. What could she possibly be auctioning? Was it something she had painted specifically for this charity? Just as everyone held their breath, the first painting was brought on stage. Lucas's eyes widened in disbelief the moment he saw it. A man's back stood bathed in a sea of flowers. The painting glowed with a soft, vibrant warmth, even to those with no artistic knowledge. It radiated love and tenderness. The crowd murmured in awe. "This piece is titled Cupid. Starting bid, 20 million. Helen blinked in surprise. "Lucas, isn't that the painting Cammy sis made for you? Why is she auctioning it?" Lucas's expression turned grim. He recognized it instantly. It was indeed the painting Camilla had created for him as a birthday gift. Only he knew the story behind the title Cupid. She had once told him that in the moment she glimpsed his back, her heart had skipped uncontrollably. What did this mean? Why would she auction something so personal? Instinctively, Lucas stood to look for her, to ask her directly. But just as he did, a voice called out, 50 million. A bold first bid, 30 million above the base price. Others quickly followed. 55 million. 60 million. Lucas's eyes narrowed. He raised his paddle. 100 million. Gasps filled the room. Everyone turned to see who could bid so fearlessly. 160 million. A cold, unfamiliar voice answered. Lucas's gaze snapped toward the sound. The man sat deep in the shadows, his face unclear, but the challenge in his eyes was unmistakable. 170 million. 180 million. The bidding war intensified. Each time Lucas raised the bid, the other man followed with a 1 million increase. Like a deliberate provocation, the entire room fell silent, caught in the quiet tension between two rivals. Eventually, Lucas grew impatient and gestured subtly to the auctioneer. The gavel slammed down. Sky lantern activated. Mr. Fu has lit the lantern. Congratulations to Mr. Fu for winning Cupid. Thunderous applause erupted, but Lucas's face remained tense. On his way to retrieve the painting, he overheard Camilla chatting with her friends. "Cammy, once you leave, Who knows when we'll see you again? Maybe the next time we'll be on the cover of a top design magazine. Camila smiled. This time, I'm not coming back. Lucas's cool voice sounded behind her. Who's not coming back? Camila turned to him. Gaze steady. You misheard. I just said I'll be away on a work trip for a while. Lucas frowned but said nothing more. He chalked it up to his imagination. Besides, he had more pressing questions. Why did you auction off the birthday gift you gave me? It hung on our wall for 7 years. Why now? Camila lifted her gaze. Lucas felt a chill as she looked straight through him. Like he was transparent. You replaced it with a painting Helen gave you, didn't you? I thought you didn't want it anymore, so I put it up for auction. After all, you don't like it anymore, right? 7 years. I suppose even something meaningful gets old eventually. Her voice was calm, emotionless, but Lucas sensed her words weren't just about the painting. He opened his mouth, about to speak, but was interrupted by a staff member asking him to complete paperwork. He left without another word. After the exhibition, Lucas had a field visit scheduled for a new project. To everyone's surprise, he asked Camila to come with him. She declined. She knew Helen would go. She didn't want to torture herself further. Seeing her firm refusal, Lucas said nothing more. That evening, as Lucas left for the trip, Camila began to pack. This time, she was ready to wipe away every trace of herself from the villa they'd shared for 7 years. The flowers in the living room vase had long since wilted. Before Helen entered the picture, Lucas used to bring home fresh red roses every night. She dumped the dried flowers, then moved to the display cabinet. Every handcrafted gift she'd made for Lucas, she gathered them all. Because he once mentioned liking Gundam models, she'd stayed up 2 nights building one from scratch. Because he found rabbits cute, she bought thread and needles just to embroider a rabbit plushie for him, pricking her fingers until they bled. And now? It was time to pack them all away. Looking back now, it seemed like everything, every effort, every tenderness, had only ever come from her. Camila packed the last items from the living room into a cardboard box. She stitched it shut and tossed it into the trash, then walked out into the courtyard and cut apart the love lock hanging from the tree. The red ribbon fluttered to the ground, painfully conspicuous. It still bore the words, Camila and Lucas, together forever. Once everything was done, she stretched, let out a breath, and headed back inside to sleep. The next morning, Camila was roused by the incessant ringing of her phone. Half asleep, she picked it up and saw the name, Helen Liu. She declined the call, but Helen called again and again. By the 10th call, Camila finally answered. Cammy sis, we had a car accident on the way to the site. Lucas got hurt saving me. He's unconscious. What should I do? Helen's voice trembled with panic and helplessness. In the background, Lucas's groans of pain could faintly be heard. He sounded delirious, but still murmured, save her first. It wasn't hard to guess who her was. Camila's tone didn't change. You called me because of a car accident? I'm not a doctor. Aren't you his assistant? Taking him to the hospital is basic common sense. You need to ask me? Without waiting for more dramatics, she hung up and rolled over, intent on going back to sleep. A few minutes later, Helen called again, this time sobbing harder. We're in the ambulance now. The doctor said it was this close to hitting his heart. He might not wake up. A huge truck rushed toward us, and Lucas shielded me. The windshield shattered and cut his face. Why would he do that? His life should come first. I didn't know what to do. I'm not his family. But the doctor said lovers could sign in emergencies, so I did. But they wouldn't listen to me when I tried to explain. Helen's gentle sobs carried a subtle thread of triumph, impossible to hide. Camila remained expressionless throughout. She yawned mid-sentence and cut in coolly. Then once he wakes up, remember to ask for a promotion. It's laughable that Fu Group's favorite is still just a lowly assistant, isn't it? She ended the call without hesitation. No longer sleepy, Camila slipped on her glasses and got to work on the proposal for her Ciudad B business trip. In full concentration, time seemed to fly. When she finally removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes, the sky had already gone dark. Her phone screen lit up, dozens of messages from Lucas. Photos and headlines dominated the news, Lucas shielding Helen during the crash, holding her protectively in his arms. Public discussion exploded. People speculated about their relationship, pitying Lucas's deep love and questioning whether he and Camila had long since divorced. The articles painted a dramatic, tragic romance, with Helen as the young savior of a cold marriage. Camila's face remained still. She read a few comments, then put her phone down and went to make dinner. Divorce? Not a rumor. Really, just an eventuality. The only difference was she'd be the one to bring it up first. After dinner, Camila worked into the night. Just before bed, she received several voice messages from Lucas. His usually calm tone was filled with fury and rough from what was likely post-op strain. Camila, did you really not know I was in a car crash? Camila blinked. At this hour, shouldn't Helen be at his side? She was almost surprised Lucas still remembered her at all. She didn't bother listening to the rest. She shut off her phone and went to sleep. Before sunrise, she felt someone shaking her awake. Squinting through the dim light, she saw Lucas Fu, face pale, bandages everywhere, standing by her bed in a hospital gown. His dark eyes were unreadable, stormy even in the shadows. For a few seconds, she was too dazed to process it, but slowly, she realized Lucas had escaped from the hospital. Bandaged arms, gauzed forehead, he looked like he had walked straight out of surgery. You knew I was in an accident. Why didn't you come to the hospital? You're my wife. Why did you let Helen sign the consent form? His voice trembled. Even his usually steely composure cracked, his eyes slightly red at the corners. Why? This power, this emergency right, wasn't that what he'd already given to Helen? Now he came questioning her? How ironic. But Camila didn't mock him. She simply replied blandly, I knew, but you already had so many people around. Helen was there to take care of you. One less person wouldn't matter. Lucas stared at her, stunned by her complete indifference. Had it not been for the sharp pain of his clenched fists grounding him, he might have lost control. He hesitated, then finally softened his voice. You're still mad about Helen, aren't you? I promise, I'll keep my distance from her from now on, okay? Camila looked at him with a flicker of surprise. The tone was stiff, the words awkward, but this was the first time Lucas had ever backed down. She nodded without speaking, pulling the covers over herself again, not because she believed him, but because arguing was a waste of energy. She only had a few days left here, no need to create more discomfort at the finish line. Lucas, seeing her unbothered reaction, clenched his jaw and crawled into bed beside her. When Camila woke up the next morning, her phone lit up with a notification. Less than 24 hours until boarding. She glanced at the man sleeping beside her, then silently turned off the screen. I remember, today's your birthday. What do you want to do? I'll be with you the whole day. Lucas's voice was hoarse. His brows furrowed as he looked at her, but she only moved a few inches back, widening the distance between them. He fell silent, unwilling to start a fight. After all, it was her birthday, and he wanted, just once, for them to spend it peacefully. After saying those words, Lucas suddenly realized it had been a long time since he and Camila had spent any meaningful time alone together. A pang of frustration hit him. With his injuries, going out wasn't really an option. He hesitated. Anything's fine. I'd rather spend the day at home. To Camila, this meant it'd be easier for her to grab her luggage and leave quietly. But to Lucas, it sounded like she was thinking of him, being considerate of his condition. His lips lifted slightly, feeling a bit better. He didn't notice the distance in her tone. He made a quick phone call to order a birthday cake and a few high-end jewelry pieces. The entire day passed in near total silence. Not a single word exchanged. The atmosphere was suffocating. Only that evening, when the items arrived, did Lucas finally speak again. He pushed a delicate necklace box toward her. Happy birthday, Cammy. She nodded in silence, saying nothing. Carefully, she inserted a few candles into the birthday cake. As the flames flickered gently, she softly sang the birthday song. Just before she closed her eyes to make a wish, Lucas's phone vibrated in his pocket. He took it out and glanced at the message. From Hiiii, Lucas Gidge. The power's out at my place. I'm all alone and so scared. Camila's gaze landed squarely on the screen, her eyes unreadable. What is it? Lucas met her eyes for a split second, then quickly powered off the phone and slid it back into his pocket. Nothing. Some urgent company stuff. I'll go take care of it after you blow out the candles. Her lips pressed into a tight line. She said nothing, just closed her eyes and made a wish, then blew out the flames. Lucas's phone vibrated again, more urgently this time. If it's really that urgent, go ahead. Her tone was light. Too light. He nodded, hurriedly threw on his coat, and walked out. I'll be right back. Wait for me. Watching his figure disappear into the night, Camila stared at the flickering candlelight and whispered, Lucas, when I was making my wish, what were you thinking about? Were you wishing to spend every birthday with me? Or worried about Helen being afraid of the dark? I don't want to know anymore. You couldn't even stay for our final goodbye. I'm done waiting for you. With that, Camila blew out the last of the candles, placed the pre-signed divorce papers and a handwritten letter on the table, grabbed her suitcase, and walked out the door without looking back. Meanwhile, at the Liu residence, as Lucas helped fix the power, a wave of unease suddenly washed over him. He had left in such a rush earlier that he was only now realizing something had been off about Camila's expression. He couldn't say what exactly, but the more he thought about it, the faster his heart raced. He pulled out his phone and dialed her number. The number you dialed is powered off. His hand trembled. Panic hit hard and fast. His composed exterior cracked, revealing real fear, a messy, chaotic kind. Lucas tried to reason with himself. Maybe her phone just ran out of battery. Lucas Gidge. It's so late already. Why not stay here tonight and head back tomorrow? Helen tugged at his sleeve, eyes soft and pleading. Outside, rain poured heavily. Lucas hesitated, then gave in. He decided to sleep in the Liu family's guest room and explain things to Camila properly the next day. The next morning, a calendar reminder buzzed on Lucas's phone. Camila's departure day. His eyes widened. How could he have forgotten something so important? No wonder her phone was off. She must be on her flight to New York City by now. He dialed again. Still off. The panic roared back, louder now. He called a business partner in New York City. Designer song? Mr. Fu, didn't you know? She canceled the trip a month ago. Canceled? Lucas's hand clenched around the phone. His knuckles turned white. Where did she go? Did she say anything? Shouldn't you, as her husband, know that better than us? Wait, are you saying Cammie's gone? The line went silent. Lucas felt as if something inside him had shattered. All that echoed in his mind was the same sentence, over and over. Camila is gone. He didn't think. He just ran, throwing on a coat and bolting out the door. In his hurry, he stumbled at the doorstep. Lucas Gidge, it's the weekend. Where are you rushing off to? Don't you want to stay with me a little longer? Helen's voice trembled behind him, but Lucas didn't even look at her. He jumped in his car and drove off. Helen ran out, calling after him, but the car had already disappeared into the storm, choked by dust and rain. Helen doubled over, coughing, tears streaming down her face, not from sadness, but from rage. The gentle, innocent expression crumbled. Her fists clenched. What does Camila have that I don't? I'm younger, from a better family, just as pretty. Why won't Lucas even glance at me? Lucas's hands gripped the steering wheel, veins bulging. Camila's final expression haunted him, blank, distant, unknowable. The more he replayed it, the deeper his unease grew. At a red light, his gaze flicked sideways. Camila's studio was being cleared out. A for sale sign hung at the entrance. His heart dropped. He turned around and stopped in front of the studio. Some of her friends were carrying boxes. Where's Cammie? The friends paused, exchanged a glance. Oh, nothing. We just found a better location to work from. Where is she? Did you see her? At the mention of her name, they lowered their heads even more. We haven't seen her. We don't know where she went. Our driver's waiting. We should get going. They practically fled the scene. Lucas's expression darkened. He looked around, scanning for anything of hers, but there was nothing left. Lucas's clenched fists finally loosened. He got back in the car, this time driving even faster. He wasn't stupid. He could see clearly that those people were hiding something. As the studio's largest shareholder, Camila couldn't possibly have been absent for something as important as a full relocation. Heart pounding, He sped back home. The car wasn't even parked properly before he threw open the front door and rushed inside. The living room was just as he had left it. The uneaten birthday cake sat alone on the table, its extinguished candles a painful reminder. The house was quiet, too quiet. "Camila!" he called out. Bolting upstairs, he ran straight for the master bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. He pushed it open. Empty. No Camila. On the bedside table sat a white document. He stepped closer, and when his eyes caught the bold black letters across the top, his breath hitched. Divorce agreement. His knees almost buckled. It felt as if the strength had been drained from his entire body. His heart was being shredded from the inside out. Camila wants to divorce me? No, impossible. He knew her, knew how much she had loved him these past 7 years. This had to be a joke, a threat, a punishment. He gritted his teeth and suddenly grabbed the paper, ripping it to shreds in a frenzy, scattering the pieces like ash across the floor. His voice was hoarse, trembling with fury and disbelief. A wounded beast backed into a corner. "Camila, what the hell do you mean? Divorce?" But the only reply was silence, the crushing, endless silence of a house now void of its warmth. Hands trembling, he opened the drawers. Empty. Her ID, passport, every certificate and award she'd ever earned, gone. For the first time, Lucas fully grasped what was wrong. All of Camila's belongings were missing. The dried flowers she used to treasure, the handmade gifts, her clothes, even the bottle of perfume he gave her, the one she used so sparingly because, in her words, every spray uses up a little more of your love. Back then, he'd laughed at her. My love isn't a perfume, it doesn't run out. But now? She didn't even want his love anymore. The house was dim, the lights hadn't been turned on. It was cold, hollow. She used to always be there when he got home. Even if he was late, she'd be waiting, pretending to sulk, taking the cake from his hand, sitting cross-legged on the couch with her hair tied up, patting the seat beside her. Lucas, come on, let's watch a couple episodes of Friends. Lucas, I want roast chicken. Don't lie, I can smell it already. Lucas, Lucas. The memories suffocated him. He collapsed onto the bed like a deflated balloon, his entire body trembling. He shut his eyes tightly as hot tears spilled onto the sheets. The memories of their 7 years played on repeat behind his eyelids, a life together unraveled. And then, he saw it. A letter. Still unopened. His heart clenched so tightly it nearly stopped. He didn't want to know what she wrote. Did she hate him? Had she suffered in silence all this time? Or, did she simply stop caring? After what felt like hours, he finally reached for it with trembling hands. Camila's familiar, elegant handwriting filled the page. Lucas, let's get divorced. We've been together for 7 years. I can tell when someone loves me. And how much. The day you let Helen sit in the passenger seat, I knew our marriage had ended. You gave the love that once belonged to me to someone else. You were meticulous in how you treated her, even when both of us were injured. You instinctively chose her. I thought I hated you, but really, I loved you so deeply. It just turned into pain. Only when I finally left did I realize I've let it go. You said you were kind to her because she's your brother's sister, but you blurred the boundaries we once drew for ourselves. Don't I have male friends? But I never sat pressed against them on the couch. You couldn't do the same. And that's not friendship, it's betrayal. When I blew out the candles, what were you thinking? Were you wishing to be with me every birthday? Or worried about Helen in the dark? I've left a card for you with 100 million inside. That's what you invested into Song Group 7 years ago. I've returned every cent. Sign the divorce papers. Let that be the full stop to our 7 years together. Don't look for me. Don't make me hate you. The letter went on and on, long enough that Lucas had to reread it several times before he could get through it. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. Tears fell onto the paper, blurring her signature. 100 million, along with all the love of the past 7 years, returned in full. The exactness of the amount, the clarity of the letter, it all left him breathless. Camila had been the one who always gave, who loved him completely, and now, she was gone. The room still smelled faintly of her perfume. The wardrobe still held a few untouched pieces of clothing. The sheets were neatly tucked, as if the owner had just stepped out on a short trip. But Lucas knew she wasn't coming back. He stood up slowly and walked out into the living room. Then suddenly, he threw everything within reach, vases, glassware, picture frames, onto the ground in a violent frenzy. Everything shattered, and when there was nothing left to break, he sank to the floor, sobbing like a child. He didn't know how long he stayed there. Before finally regaining some strength and calling his assistant, he gave orders, specific ones. Put everything back exactly the way it was. He redid the layout from memory. He rehung the painting Camila had once drawn for him, the one he'd foolishly taken down for Helen's gift. He replaced the flowers, the decorations, even the sofa cushions. But the handmade things, the delicate gifts Camila had created herself, those were irreplaceable. Just like their broken love, he lay in her room all night, eyes wide open until dawn, his gaze fixed on the door, silently praying for a miracle. Maybe, just maybe, Camila would walk in the next second, laughing, saying it was all a prank, that she was just angry he didn't stay for her birthday. But it wasn't April Fool's Day. And some things don't get a second chance. Lucas sat rigid through the night, eyes fixed on the front door, waiting for a miracle that never came. At 7 a.m., the doorbell rang, sharp, urgent. He bolted up, rushed barefoot to the entrance, flinging the door open. Cammy, It wasn't Camila. The hopeful glow on his face froze. Words caught in his throat. Instead, Helen stood there with teary eyes, her face full of soft concern. The warmth drained from his gaze. His bloodshot eyes, once alive with anticipation, quickly iced over into familiar, distant coldness. What do you want? Helen bit her lip, stepping closer with a concerned expression. Lucas Gidge, you left in such a hurry yesterday morning. I was worried something happened. You look so exhausted and hurt. It breaks my heart. She instinctively reached out to touch his face, but Lucas immediately caught her wrist and threw her hand off. Helen's eyes welled up with tears. Her rejected hand clenched onto the fabric of his shirt. Did you fight with Cammy, sis? Is that why you're upset? It's okay. I'm here. I can stay with you. Everything she could do, I can do too. I'm the one who understands you best. Wasn't I always the one who comforted you when you were down? She inched closer, reaching toward his chest, the scent of her perfume mingling with the faint sandalwood on his skin. Had she looked up in that moment, she might have seen it, Lucas's gaze, now distant and hollow, utterly devoid of the warmth he once held for her. She was only one step away from embracing him, but then Lucas shoved her back. Helen, Camila's gone. I have to find her. She's out there alone, in an unfamiliar place. It's not safe. I need to bring her home. Every word was weighted with solemnity, spoken from the depth of his soul. Helen stood there stunned, then snapped. So she's all that matters? I took a train for over an hour just to see you, and now you're going to abandon me? Lucas Gidge, haven't I been with you through everything? You really feel nothing for me? Lucas remained silent, lips tight, frown etched deep into his face. Helen pressed on, trembling with emotion. She's gone. She left you. But I'm still here. I'm younger. I can give you another 7 years. I'm the one who truly understands you. Her tears shimmered, and for a split second, Lucas faltered. She looked a little like Camila, but that illusion shattered as quickly as it came, because he knew no one could replace Camila. No one could recreate their shared past. The paths they walked together, the memories they built, those things were irreplicable. He had chased novelty, and in doing so, he had lost the one person he couldn't live without. Camila's absence tore at him like a net he didn't realize had been wrapped around him for 7 years, until it was gone, and he collapsed from the weight of it. No, he murmured, shoving Helen aside. No one can replace Camila. I won't let you stay here. You're not her. And with that, he turned, walked out the door without looking back, and climbed into the waiting car. Destination, Camila's newly relocated studio. If there was even a sliver of hope, he would chase it. He would find her. Helen ran after him, but in her panic, twisted her ankle and collapsed to the ground. Lucas Gidge, my foot hurts. Please don't leave me. Don't go. Lucas! But the car had already vanished down the street, the tires kicking up a cloud of dust that left her coughing and gasping in the rain. Lucas might have heard her, might not have, but he never once turned around. Helen's face crumpled, red with fury. She ripped off her high heels and threw them against the wall. Why? I did everything for him. Why doesn't he care? He heard me, why didn't he look back? Camila's gone, she's gone. What's so great about her? I'm younger, prettier. Why? She collapsed in the rain, sobbing on the pavement. The obedient, gentle mask was long gone. She had rushed out so quickly. She hadn't even brought her wallet or phone. Now she had no choice but to walk home in the pouring rain, barefoot, each step biting with pain. Meanwhile, Lucas arrived at the studio. The doors were still open. A few people were inside tidying up. He burst in, startling everyone with a loud slam. Camila's friends looked up and their expressions instantly turned cold. Laura stepped forward. Lucas? We told you, Cammy isn't here. Why are you back? I know she left because she didn't want to see me, Lucas said hoarsely, stubble on his chin, bloodshot eyes betraying sleepless nights. I just need to know where she went. Lara's face hardened, her fists clenched. You think you deserve to know? After everything you did to her? Do you even have a conscience, Lucas? She could have gone to New York City to pursue her dream after your wedding, but she stayed because of you. Just because you said you loved her. Do you have any idea how much she gave up for you? Now she's gone, and you show up playing the heartbroken husband? How disgusting. Every word hit like a blade. Lucas stood there, frozen, every syllable driving deeper into his heart, 1,000 tiny needles prickling under his skin. He tried to breathe, but the guilt was suffocating. I know I was wrong. I know I hurt her. Please, just give me a chance to make it right. His voice broke at the end, cracked with pain, raw with desperation. Lucas Fu, the untouchable CEO, the man who stood at the top of the corporate pyramid, now stood before them, humbling himself, pleading, but none of it mattered, because the one person who needed to hear it most was gone. Laura sneered. So what if you're sorry? Do your apologies erase what you did? Do you even know what her favorite food is? What she's allergic to? Where she's always wanted to go? Lucas's lips parted, but no words came out, because the answer to all of those questions was no. Lucas stood frozen, stunned into silence. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Eventually, he pressed them together and lowered his head, ashamed. What was Camila's favorite food? He didn't know. What was she allergic to? He couldn't remember, yet he clearly recalled the times they dined together when he would remind waiters to leave out lemon, cilantro, or seafood. Now, even those memories felt like they belonged to someone else's life. He didn't even know she had passed the BHS International Writing Exam. Looking back, it became horribly clear he didn't really know her at all. But one thing he knew with absolute certainty. Camila loved him, deeply, unconditionally, for 7 whole years. 7 years was long enough for his affection to rot and fade, but also short enough that, before he ever truly understood her, she was already gone. Now, it made sense, the melancholic glaze in her eyes whenever she looked at him, the distant composure in her tone. How many times had she seen through him, quietly watching him act like everything was fine? She had once been a brilliant, sharp woman, but she tucked away her edges for him for so long that he forgot she had them. He thought Camila couldn't live without him. He thought giving her wealth, status, and shares was enough. But now, finally, he understood all she ever wanted was his heart. A heart that only loved her. And now, that kind of love, he would never find again. Tell me what you want. I'll give you anything. Her travel plans must have gone through the studio. You all know where she went. Just tell me, and you'll get whatever you want. Money, projects. Before he could finish, Laura cut him off coldly. What? You think this is a trade? Are you bribing us? Is this how you talk to Cammy too? Just leave. We don't need anything from you. And stop pretending to be some heartbroken martyr. Her voice sharpened. Take your precious little sister and disappear. We don't care what you are to her. We only care that, when she and Cammy were both hurt, you chose her. So take her, and get lost. Sign the divorce papers and let Cammy go. Letting go. So easy to say, so impossibly hard to do. Camila had taken root in his heart years ago. Now that she was gone, every part of him hurt. If he had another chance, he wouldn't let her go again. He knew how much he'd failed her, and he would give not just 7 years, but a lifetime, to make it right. At first, he hadn't expected anything from the marriage. Song group needed salvation. Fu group needed an obedient daughter-in-law. Camila, a Western-educated, artistic woman, had been the ideal compromise. They didn't even meet until their wedding day. He remembered clearly her radiant face, unbending gaze. Even though she was marrying into the Fu family, there was no groveling, no attempt to flatter him. Her eyes shone, bold, alive, arresting. Her hands were soft, her lips crimson. Up close, he could smell her unique floral fragrance. Even a man as jaded as him felt something spark in that moment. He hadn't thought she'd truly settle into the role of a wife, but she had. She was like a quiet, flowing river, soft, steady, always there. She learned how to care for him, how to make his favorite congee. She handled his work affairs without ever overstepping. She was perfect, perfect enough to tame even a reputed playboy like him. And yet, he still lost her. His vision blurred. He could still see her waiting in the rain with an umbrella outside the studio, catching sight of him and offering a smile that always made his heart skip a beat. People had warned him, Camila is a good woman. Don't lose her. But he had. You don't owe us anything, Lucas. Another friend said coldly. You owe her. But you can't buy forgiveness. You can't undo the damage. You didn't care enough to know her favorite place, her favorite food, her allergies. Lucas's mouth opened. Nothing came out, because he didn't know. Outside the studio, Lucas stood motionless on the street. His face was lowered, expression cracked beneath exhaustion, heartbreak carved deep into every line. He had never felt this lost before. Where in the world could he go now to find one hug from Camila, the hug that used to take all his stress away? And then his phone rang. It was his mother. Lucas, come home now and explain yourself. Her tone was furious. Lucas frowned, confused, until he heard a familiar sobbing voice in the background. His eyes narrowed. Helen had gone to the Fu family home. He gritted his teeth. She thought that crying to his parents would secure her place, that it would force his hand. At the Fu residence, Lucas stormed inside. Helen was on the couch, hair disheveled, barefoot, her ankles swollen, makeup streaked with tears. Lucas Gidge, she whimpered. Lucas shot her a cold glare. She flinched under his stare and shrank into herself. He turned away. Mom. Before he could say more, slap. His mother struck him, hard enough to twist his face to the side. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. His cheeks swelled instantly. You still remember you have a mother? All those years of raising you, teaching you honor, decency, and this is how you repay me? Do you even realize what this scandal has done to Fu Group? You've been married to Camila for 7 years. Where is she? Does she even know? Lucas clenched his fists, and after a long pause, his voice rasped. Cammy left. His mother's expression faltered. Left? What do you mean left? Lucas's gaze dimmed. She found out. She left me the divorce papers and went abroad. She said, she's not coming back. The fury drained from his mother's face, replaced by shock. She raised her hand to strike again, then saw the pain, the brokenness in his eyes. She hesitated, her hand lowered, and all she could do was sigh, because for the first time, even she could see, Lucas Fu finally understood what he had lost. What a sin! Where are the virtues of propriety, righteousness, integrity, and shame that I taught you? Can you really say you're worthy of everything Cammy did for you? Worthy of the Song family's expectations? And now that little girl has come to our house. How do you plan to deal with it? The moment Helen heard Mrs. Fu mention her, hope sparked in her heart again. Lucas Gidge, I'll really learn how to be a good wife. Please give me a chance, okay? I'll take care of you like Cammy did. Mrs. Fu looked at the girl whose eyes were filled only with Lucas, unsure of what to do. Just moments ago at the front door, she saw Helen sitting on the ground crying. When she asked what had happened, Helen poured everything out, how she met Lucas, what had transpired between them. The Liu family was a prominent name in J City, and Mrs. Fu was caught in a dilemma. She didn't want to offend either side. Lucas, be honest with Mom. What do you really want? Between Helen and Cammy, who do you choose? Lucas's eyes dimmed, and he spoke in a hoarse voice. Mom, from beginning to end, the one I loved was always Cammy. I've made too many mistakes before. After I win her back, I'll go apologize in person. Right now, I just want to know where she is. Without her, I really can't go on. Gidge, what about me? I've stayed by your side all this time. What am I to you? Helen widened her eyes, staring at him in disbelief, her whole body trembling uncontrollably. After hearing what Lucas said, Helen clenched her teeth, realizing that whatever they had was over. She had always known that Lucas was only attracted to her because she resembled Camila. It was the novelty that drew him in. But now, seeing him so resolutely choose Camila, her heart ached unbearably. That overwhelming sense of powerlessness engulfed her, making it almost impossible to stand. She looked at his handsome face, the corners of her mouth twitching in bitter self-mockery as tears streamed down. She felt ridiculous, all this time spent by his side, willingly bearing shame just to be with him, believing that foolish emotion was love. Camila was right. Men are all the same. They only treasure what they've lost, and are stirred by what they can't have. But she couldn't accept it. She had given so much, only to end up with nothing. Leave. You don't need to come back to the company. I don't need you anymore. His voice was cold and detached, as if he were speaking to a stranger, not someone who had once been so close to him. The contrast from his previous tenderness was stark. The way he looked at her now reminded her constantly that he had once loved her, once cared for her deeply. Could all of that really be dismissed with just a sentence? Was it true that he only treated her well because she resembled Camila? Without Camila, there would never have been a Helen. Helen suddenly started laughing and crying at the same time. Lucas, Camila was right. You have no heart. You were with me just because I looked like Camila, right? You never loved me at all, not even a little. You're so heartless, so cruel. If Camila left you, you deserved it. It was your own fault. You treated me well right in front of her. You allowed me to overstep. All the permission came from you. So how can you be so cruel and throw me away like trash? Tell me, Lucas. Say something. Answer me. You treated me well just because I looked like Camila, right? Then why, now that she's gone, can't I take care of you in her place? Lucas looked at Helen, red-eyed and tearful, staring at him unblinkingly. For a brief moment, he was dazed, almost seeing the Camila of the past in her. But only he knew. No one could ever replace Camila in his heart. The days she had spent with him, no one else could replicate. The roads they walked together, no one else could walk with him again. Helen, you are not her substitute. If I had seen you as her substitute, maybe I could have had some love for you. But from the beginning, I never loved you. With that, Lucas ordered someone to send her back to the Liu family. Don't appear before me again. Whatever we had ends here. And if you dare expose what happened between us, the Liu family won't escape unscathed. Leaving just that one sentence, Lucas brushed past her and went upstairs. Ignoring her desperate cries for his name, he never looked back. Lying in his room, Lucas stared wearily at the photo on his phone, a picture of him and Camila. He stroked her face on the screen with longing. It was their first photo together, and the only one he had saved on his phone. They weren't very close back then, and both looked a little stiff. His arm was awkwardly wrapped around her waist, which looked rather comical. Later, whenever Camila leaned in his arms to look back at that photo, she would tease him. When we took this photo, did you ever imagine we'd end up this close? What did he say back then? He'd pulled her closer, kissed her cheek affectionately, and replied, "If I had known, I would have smiled better, so you wouldn't keep teasing me about it." Tears blurred his vision. One by one, they slid down his face as Lucas murmured in a daze, "Cammy, where are you?" Meanwhile, in Ciudad B, Camila looked at the man in front of her, his fox-like eyes narrowing as he studied her. She sighed inwardly. Real money is still the hardest to earn. I wonder if Mr. Joel is satisfied with this proposal? Joel gave the proposal a cursory glance before shutting it. Of course I'm satisfied. I've long heard of Designer Song's reputation. You've never produced anything less than excellent. But those few seconds weren't even enough to finish the first page. Camila couldn't figure out what Joel was thinking. If he didn't want to collaborate, he could have just declined outright. And if he did, Why was he acting so nonchalant? No, calling it nonchalant wasn't quite right. From his hairstyle to his attire and even his polished leather shoes, everything about him screamed that he had taken this meeting seriously. So why was he so indifferent about the proposal? And why did he keep staring at her? Weren't Ciudad-B business owners supposed to be easier to work with? Why did she feel like she'd have had an easier time on a business trip to New York City? Well then, since Mr. Joel has no objections, let's settle on this plan. It's getting late, I'll take my leave. Wait. Just as she stood to go, Joel stopped her. Miss Song, would you be willing to have dinner with me? I've already taken up so much of your time today, allow me to treat you. Camila frowned, her expression cooling. So this was what he was after. She was just about to refuse when Joel added, "Don't be so quick to turn me down. I've prepared a welcome gift for you." He clapped his hands, and a group of assistants filed in, arms full of wrapped gifts. Camila lifted the red cloth and was momentarily stunned. She spoke in surprise. So the one at the auction that day, was you? The man who had competed with Lucas for Eros at her charity auction was actually Joel. She had assumed it was some random person trying to one-up Lucas. Apologies, I'd originally intended to win Eros and present it to you as a meeting gift. But Lucas snatched it away. I did. However, by all the other pieces, I know how much these works mean to you. So I wanted to give them back. I hope this gift meets your expectations. Camila pressed her lips together, her hand trembling as she touched the paintings. It took her a long while before she could speak. Why are you doing this? Joel blinked and gave a soft laugh. His eyes sparkled with emotion, as if someone could drown in their depths. Was I really that subtle? I thought you already knew. Camila was taken aback. It was the most direct confession she'd ever received, and she didn't know how to respond. Don't you know I'm still not divorced yet? I do. Joel replied nonchalantly. I like you. Just being able to see you from a distance is enough. Lucas doesn't love you. Your divorce is only a matter of time. But my buying your paintings has nothing to do with that. In the end, they went to dinner together. The restaurant was the most expensive in the city center, luxuriously elegant with soft lighting that created a romantic atmosphere. They sat by the window, overlooking the dazzling night view of the city. Camila casually glanced at the menu and was stunned by the prices, clicking her tongue in disbelief. Though she wasn't poor, a meal costing hundreds of thousands was far from her usual standard. Don't worry. I'm treating. You came all the way to Ciudad-B to discuss this collaboration. How could I possibly let you pay? Waiter, bring everything except these few items. No seafood, no cilantro, no lemon, Joel instructed repeatedly. Camila was surprised. You don't eat those either? Joel smiled. No, you don't. I know you're allergic to seafood and lemon, and you hate cilantro. Camila hadn't expected him to know so much, down to her dietary preferences. Even after 7 years of marriage, Lucas hadn't known those things. She took a spoonful of dessert, the sweetness on her tongue contrasting with the bitterness in her heart. Sensing her low spirits, Joel waved over an assistant and whispered something. The assistant nodded and hurried off. Moments later, fireworks burst outside the window. A loud boom was followed by a brilliant red ring exploding above, rippling into the night. Then came a cascade of colorful fireworks, bursting in different shapes across the dark sky. Do you like it? Feeling any better now? Joel's voice was soft, his eyes reflecting the fireworks as he looked at her. Even Camila, dense as she could be, knew this was his doing. The fireworks lasted as long as their dinner. On the ride home, they talked about many things: family, work, and life. Joel's humor was charming, but never overbearing. If she didn't open up, he never pushed or crossed lines into her personal matters. When she got out of the car, a cool breeze made her shiver. Ciudad-B's streets were quiet in the autumn night, and under the streetlights, their shadows stretched long across the pavement. Joel pulled a scarf from the back seat and gently wrapped it around her neck. Keep it on. It's brand new. Seeing her hesitation, Joel feigned hurt. I thought after dinner and all that talk, we were at least friends. Can't you accept a friend's kindness? As their eyes met in the dim light, Camila's heart skipped a beat. Her eyes were far too bright, not with emotion, but with a pure brilliance, as if she were lit from within. It was so dazzling, Joel couldn't tell whether the stars behind her or the glint in her gaze were the true light in the night sky. Well then. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Camila gave a soft smile, clutching the scarf wrapped around her neck. After politely thanking him, she turned and went inside. Joel watched her retreating figure slowly fade from view. The white curtains of her window glowed dimly under the warm interior light. Leaning against his car, Joel lit a cigarette and unconsciously pressed a hand to his chest. His heart was still beating too fast. Not a teenager anymore. Yet one look from her and I'm like this? He narrowed his eyes, smiling faintly as the smoke veiled his face, obscuring his expression. Not until he finished the cigarette did he dust off his coat, get in the car, and drive away. After her shower, Camila lay on the bed and opened her phone, only to find a message from Joel. Good night, followed by a cute cat emoji. The image of the towering, aloof CEO sending something so childish amused her. The contrast between his public persona and private warmth was striking. They exchanged a few more casual messages, and she exited the chat. But as she did, a breaking headline popped up, freezing her in place. Hashtag Fu Group CEO Lucas suspended amid scandalous affair. Hashtag. She clicked on it and read every word carefully. Apparently, after she left, Helen Lu stormed into the Fu household. Lucas threw her out, but Helen, desperate and cornered, retaliated by leaking intimate photos of her and Lucas taken over the past few weeks, publicly demanding he divorce Camila and marry her instead. For 7 years, the Song and Fu families had been the model of a powerful, loving alliance. Now, news of Lucas cheating had detonated across the internet like a bomb. Worse still, netizens dug up even more photos of Lucas holding Helen during a horseback riding event. Public outrage surged. Helen was slammed as a shameless simp seductress, and Lucas branded a disloyal scumbag. Strangely, many online began painting Camila as a strong female lead, the woman who, despairing of love, left to pursue her own dreams abroad. But despair wasn't quite it. What she felt was disappointment. Deep, thorough disappointment. She had given Lucas chances, but what she found was rot, decay masked in charm. He had taken her love and kindness for granted, treated her like his possession, convinced she'd never leave. Too confident in himself, and in their 7-year marriage, the 7-year itch. Even they hadn't escaped it. Overnight, the reputations of the Liu and Fu families crumbled. Partners withdrew from Fu Group left and right. In an effort to stabilize the chaos, old Mr. Fu held a press conference and announced Lucas's suspension. Camila, however, knew it was only temporary. Once the public furor died down, Lucas would be reinstated. He was, after all, their only heir. She doubted the Fu family would truly give up on him. What did surprise her, though, was that Lucas made a public apology at the peak of the scandal. In the video, he sat before a wall of reporters, hair slicked back immaculately, but the deep circles under his eyes and the red veins crawling through them revealed how exhausted he really was. Yes, I behaved immorally. I did something that hurt Cammy. It was my lack of boundaries that brought her pain. I know I was wrong. Cammy, I truly know I was wrong. Please come back. Camila's fingers clenched around her phone. She took a deep breath and exited the video. Her mind spun in a mess of thoughts. What is this performance now? Lucas Fu? He'd betrayed her, and now he stood in public to apologize, dragging her name into the spotlight again. It was classic Lucas, manipulating narratives, forcing her into corners. He wanted something, so he did whatever it took to get it. Now that she was gone, was this regret? Or just more of the same, the kind of arrogance and shamelessness that only made her sick? She blocked the trending topic, shut off her phone, and went to sleep. Outside, it began to rain. The gentle patter against the window, combined with the wind's soft howling, brought a sense of comfort. For the first time in a long while, Camila slept soundly. She didn't dream of Lucas. No nightmares about that injury at the racetrack. Nothing. As autumn deepened, the winds in J City turned icy, and the streets grew sparse. Inside Lucas's villa, the lights were dim. The air was heavy with the stench of alcohol and nicotine. He sat on the floor beside the sofa, surrounded by a sea of toppled bottles and overflowing ashtrays. His eyes were vacant, his entire being radiating brokenness. Since Camila's departure, he had lived like this for a month, locking himself in, smoking and drinking nonstop, ignoring anyone who tried to intervene. At first, he'd obsessively hounded her studio for leads, But eventually they got tired of him, even relocated to an undisclosed location. Now he had no idea where she'd gone. He had missed his last chance to find her. This past month, he'd racked his brain, trying to remember every country Camila had mentioned, and only then did he realize how little he actually knew about her. Maybe she had told him, but he hadn't listened. Now she was gone, the world wide open, and he didn't even know where to start. He vaguely remembered her saying she wanted to see cherry blossoms in Japan, to visit Zurich in Switzerland, to watch the northern lights in Iceland. He'd visited them all, one by one, heart pounding with hope, and returned empty-handed each time. Lucas rubbed his temples, seated in the shadows. One hand hung loosely around a half-empty bottle of liquor. The other held a cigarette, still glowing red. He hadn't smoked in years. Camila hated the smell, and after their marriage, he had quit. But now that she was gone, he smoked more than ever. "Mr. Fu," a soft voice called out. Lucas looked up to see his assistant standing hesitantly in the doorway. Since he shut himself in, his mother had sent everyone she could think of to reach him, assistants, friends, even family. All were turned away. No one could get through to him anymore. His world now consisted only of smoke, alcohol, and the memory of her back as she walked away. A sudden itch crept into his throat. He inhaled another drag, letting the smoke suppress the chaos inside him. But the image in his mind only grew clearer. To him, Camila was like nicotine in his blood, addictive, all-consuming. With every beat of his heart, he craved her more. Losing her felt like being devoured alive by 1,000 ants, an endless torment that scratched at his heart, clawed at his soul, and drove him to the brink of madness. "Mr. Fu, Madam wants to know when you get out. Don't bother me." Lucas Fu hurled a bottle across the room, shattering it on the ground. Without even glancing up, he waved his assistant off and turned over, fumbling for the next unopened bottle. The assistant jumped in fright and fled. Soon after, hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. Lucas looked up in irritation. As the door swung open, the overhead light came on, a harsh brightness that forced him to squint against the glare. The next second, a wave of cold liquid crashed down over his head. "Have you sobered up now?" Alcohol dripped from his hair and soaked his clothes, darkening the fabric with spreading stains. He looked up and saw his mother standing over him, her face carved with icy fury. "Mom, so you do remember you have a mother?" "Lucas, look at yourself. What have you become? Have you completely lost your mind?" Her hand lashed across his face with a loud smack. Lucas, already worn out from weeks of self-destruction, staggered backward under the force of the blow. He said nothing, just sat there with lowered eyes, silently enduring his mother's scolding. These days, he lived in misery, drinking, always drinking, with Camila's letter clenched in his hand, a letter so battered and crumpled it was nearly torn. "Lucas, let's get divorced. Don't come looking for me. Don't make me hate you." Each time he read it, he saw her pale, distant face in his mind, those vacant, cold eyes that pierced his chest like a blade. The image branded itself into his memory, impossible to erase. Awake or asleep, he couldn't escape her. Every night, he'd dream of her, of Camila weeping, walking away, vanishing without a word. He'd wake up drenched in cold sweat, gasping for air, heart racing like thunder in his ears. His sleep became fragmented, shallow. The light in his eyes dimmed, his soul lost. Sleeping pills barely gave him the minimum rest his body required. Her silhouette, her voice, even her scent haunted him like invisible chains, tightening with every heartbeat. "Mom, without her, I am insane." Maybe it was the alcohol, but his voice was hoarse and cracked like gravel. Fu mother raised her hand to slap him again, but seeing her son's swollen cheek, she faltered. Her hand trembled midair, then slowly dropped back down. "You really can't let her go? If she would come back to me, I'd get on my knees and beg. I don't want anything else. I just want her." Lucas had never imagined he could fall this low for a woman. Everyone knew how capricious he was. Women he'd once toyed with had even come to the Fu household, threatening to die if he wouldn't marry them. Lucas himself had once believed he could never give his heart to anyone, not truly. Even when he first met Camila, he thought, she'd make a good wife, but not necessarily a lover. But now, his entire heart was bound to her. Every twitch of her soul tugged violently at his own. If only he had turned back sooner. Just a little sooner. Would they have ended up like this? Maybe they'd still be the same as before, sharing warm hugs at the end of each day, sitting down to home-cooked meals under the soft yellow glow of the lamp. But now, he had nothing. If I could find her again, I would never let her down. Lucas let out a bitter laugh, tilted his head back, and chugged straight from the bottle. What if I told you? I can help you find Camila, his mother said. What? Lucas froze. His eyes snapped open wide in disbelief. He dropped the bottle and grabbed his mother's wrist, his voice trembling with urgency. Mom, what did you say? You know where she is? Fu's mother pulled a file from her bag and tossed it into his lap. I reached out through her business partners. She's moved to Ciudad B. I can let you go, but on one condition: if she still refuses to come back, you're not to chase after her again. Okay, I promise. Lucas agreed without hesitation, his heart pounding wildly, like it would burst from his chest. He stood up, about to rush out, but Fu's mother grabbed his arm. Look at yourself. You think Cammy won't run away the second she sees you like this? Lucas glanced down and realized his shirt was stained with liquor, spotted dark and light. His pants were torn. He reeked of alcohol. He quickly cleaned up, changed into fresh clothes, took a shower, and sprayed on the cologne Camila used to love. Then, without wasting another second, he boarded the next flight to Ciudad B. Upon landing, he went straight to the address his mother had given him, Camila's studio in Ciudad B. The air was sharp and cold, but Lucas didn't feel it. A fire was burning inside him, searing away his reason. All he knew was that he had to see her, Camila's song. Before coming, he had imagined their reunion countless times. What expression would she wear? Surprise? Disgust? Indifference? He didn't care. Just one look at the face he missed day and night, and he knew he'd probably burst into tears on the spot. He never thought he'd fall this far for a woman, that he'd give up his pride, his dignity, just to win her back. But when he saw her, that familiar profile bent over her canvas, completely focused, his heart thundered in his chest. Just like the first time he saw her. No, even more overwhelming now. So intense. He forgot how to breathe. He was about to push open the door when his smile froze on his face. A man, whose face he couldn't see clearly, gently draped his jacket over Camila's shoulders. And she didn't refuse. A buzzing exploded in Lucas's head. His face drained of color. His lips turned white as he clenched his fists. Trembling, one thought echoed in his mind. Again and again. Camila doesn't want me anymore. She has someone else now. No, no, no. Camila can only be mine. The last thread of reason in Lucas's mind snapped. He pushed open the door. The soft chime of the wind bell rang overhead. Camila looked up, and when she saw who it was, the gentle smile on her face vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, indifferent expression. Cammy, I'm here to apologize. I know I was wrong. Can you come back with me? As her frigid gaze fell on him, Lucas trembled. It was as if an invisible hand gripped his heart, squeezing so tightly he could hardly breathe. I know it was all my fault. I shouldn't have lied to you. I've already cut things off with Helen. She won't bother you again. I truly realize how wrong I was. Please, forgive me. Cammy, these days without you, I can't live like this. I'm begging you. Come back with me, please. Forgive me. His voice was hoarse, eyes filled with desperate pleading. But Camila simply stared at him, her eyes as still as water, unmoved. Her tone was calm. Cool, Lucas. I don't need your apology. I don't care about what you did in the past. I only want to know, have you signed the divorce papers? Just as she intended. Lucas's expression instantly contorted in pain, and his voice turned frantic. Cammy, don't say such cruel things, please. 7 years of marriage, does it mean nothing to you? We said we'd travel the world together, see the snow. Let's do that now, okay? I'll take you anywhere. I know you're still angry, but at least give me a chance to make it up to you. This past month, I haven't been able to think of anyone else. I drank to numb myself, but I couldn't forget you. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw your face. Life without you is unbearable. Didn't you love me most, Cammy? Seeing her remain expressionless, Lucas began to panic. His tone turned urgent. Camila didn't speak. She simply looked at him, eyes bloodshot, rimmed with tears. Though he was cleaned up, his jaw still bore traces of an unshaven stubble. It was clear he'd rushed here without resting. Only after a long moment did she look away. So, time really could dull both love and hatred. If it were before, seeing him like this, she would have rushed to embrace him. But now, she felt nothing, only bitter irony. The man who once couldn't spare time for her was now desperate to win her back. When he used to jet set with Helen under the pretense of business, did he ever think about her waiting alone on rainy nights? She had told him countless times she wanted to see the auroras in Iceland. He always dismissed it as too busy with work. City to Reykjavik, 10,000 kilometers. Why couldn't he do that trip once? Just once. For her? Lucas. I don't need this anymore. What use is a promise made too late? I don't care. Whoever you're with from now on is your business, not mine. I just want a peaceful life after our divorce. I've done nothing to betray you in these 7 years. Even the money you gave Song Group, I've already repaid it. Why can't you just let me go? Her voice trembled slightly toward the end, eyes glistening red. She didn't regret her decision. Adults had to own the consequences of their actions. She tried to act carefree. But 7 years weren't so easily erased. She had poured her heart into maintaining that relationship. She couldn't understand why even now, even after the separation, Lucas Fu wouldn't let her be. Lucas's face went deathly pale. His voice trembled as he stepped forward and tried to grab her wrist. Cammy, please, don't do this. Don't leave me. I'll make up for everything, whatever you want. Her skin was warm and soft beneath his hand. The moment they drew closer, he caught that familiar scent she used to wear, and for a moment, the exhaustion of the past month melted away, leaving him feeling grounded again. Even if it kills me, I won't let go. Hit me, curse me, whatever you want. Just forgive me, please. Cammy, didn't you love me most? But before he could finish his sentence, a heavy punch smashed across his face. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. He wiped it with the back of his hand, looked up in stunned rage, and saw Joel, eyes ablaze with fury. You son of a bitch! You played with Cammy and Helen's feelings. Once, Lucas would have snapped at such humiliation. But now, faced with Joel, he stood still. His gaze grew complicated. Only after a long pause did he speak, voice gravelly. If this is about Helen, I'll go to the Liu family myself and apologize. But Joel, this is between me and Cammy. It has nothing to do with you. Joel's eyes turned even colder. He raised his fist again, but Lucas stepped back in time to block it. If you ever thought of me as a brother, you would have never touched Helen. Don't you know she's my sister? I brought you into my circle, trusted you with business, and this is how you repay me. Camila froze. Joel is Helen's brother? I said I'll apologize to the Liu family myself, but right now, step aside. I need to speak with Cammy. In your fucking dreams. You don't deserve her forgiveness. Joel grabbed Lucas and shoved him to the ground, punching him again and again, releasing every ounce of rage in his body. The two men, both tall and strong, wrestled and traded blows. Camila cried out in alarm, but neither backed down. Lucas, let him go. Let go of Joel. Joel, stop. If you two don't stop fighting, I'm calling the police. Only when both men were covered in bruises did they finally separate. Camila rushed forward and knelt beside Joel, heart aching as she looked at the cuts and swelling on his face. Are you okay, Joel? Wait here, I'll get the medicine. Hearing her call Joel so tenderly again and again, Lucas felt as if his heart were being torn apart. Red-eyed and aggrieved, he clenched his teeth, staring at Camila in disbelief. Camila, what do you mean? You're with him now? He calls you Cammy every other word. And you won't even call me that anymore. You only call me Lucas now. His voice cracked, rage and pain twisting together. God damn it. Joel, you knew we weren't divorced yet. How dare you? You really had the guts to steal her from me? But Camila didn't even glance at him. She just gently applied ointment to Joel's injuries, carefully, as if Lucas didn't exist at all. Camila! Cammy! Don't treat me like this. No, you can't like him. We're still married. You can't. Please don't love someone else. I'm begging you. Look at me. Don't fall for anyone else. It felt like a blade had pierced through Lucas's chest. cutting him so deeply he could barely breathe. The wounds on his body were nothing compared to the pain in his heart. He looked at her, voice shaking with agony. This isn't real, is it? Cammy, tell me this isn't real. How could you fall for someone else? Joel, damn it. I said I'd apologize. Take it out on me if you want. But don't you touch her. She's mine. Camila stood up abruptly, frowning, her eyes laced with disgust as she stared at him. I've never crossed any lines with Joel. He's not you. He's not you. Just one sentence. And Lucas's tears fell uncontrollably. Guilt, fear, regret surged through him, paralyzing his tongue. He knew Camila knew her principles. Even while married, there had been many who admired her. But she'd never wavered. She would never step out of line. Not before the divorce. Lucas. Joel spoke coldly, his voice low but forceful. Cammy and I are clean. I don't stoop to immoral things. I never interfered with your marriage. But those 2 punches, one was for Cammy. She was with you for 7 years. And you betrayed her. The other was for Helen. She made mistakes. Sure. But you are the truly disgusting one. Camila reached out, gently pulling Joel back, signaling him not to act rashly. Then she walked toward Lucas, took out a divorce agreement, and tossed it at his feet. I'm not with anyone else. I just don't love you anymore. Sign the papers. Lucas, let's not see each other again. You loved me. I loved who you used to be. But now, love and hate have both passed. What's left is just stubborn pride. You can't let go because you're clinging to the idea that these 7 years should have meant something. But admit it. Lucas, whatever love you had for me, it ended a long time ago. Real love is not about possession, it's about constantly feeling you owe the other person. He had betrayed her not because Helen was beautiful, not because she was young, but because he no longer loved her enough. Helen Lu was just the first. If Camila forgave him now, there would only be more. She couldn't gamble her life on someone who might never change. When love reaches its end, it's over. No patchwork can hide the cracks in their hearts. Better to let go now and free each other. Cammy, is there really no future for us? Lucas clutched the divorce papers, his throat bitter and dry. No. Camila nodded lightly. Her voice was soft, the gentlest she had spoken to him since the day she left. Lucas, let me go. Tears instantly welled up in his eyes. He wanted to grab her, to pull her into his arms, but he didn't. His body trembled from the effort of holding back his grief. Cammy. What do? I don't want you to hurt, but I can't let go. I can't live without you. Every morning I wake up, I feel like dying. Every night, I dream of you. We spent 7 years together. How do I just let go? How do I move on? Lucas's voice choked with sobs. For the first time in front of her, he cried without holding back. No one knew how long passed. Eventually, Lucas steadied himself. He kept his head down, not wanting her to see the wreck he'd become. If there had been even a sliver of hope, he would have begged her to take him back. But now, knowing there was none, he still had his pride. He picked up the pen with trembling fingers and signed his name on the divorce papers. It took him several minutes to write just a few characters. His hands were shaking too hard. Cammy. He handed her the agreement, his voice raw and nearly broken. He looked at her one last time, eyes lingering as if trying to etch her into memory. I'm setting you free. 2 years after the divorce, Camila finally accepted Joel's pursuit. She had no energy to start a new relationship after such a painful end. But in those 2 years, Joel had given her emotional support, steadiness, and the rare gift of never pushing her. And maybe, just maybe, she felt they were worth a try. Back in China, Lucas buried himself in work every day. His life followed the same lonely routine. When others tried to set him up with someone new, he refused. I already have someone in my heart, he would say. His phone's lock screen remained a photo of him and Camila, the only one. Even after so much time, it could still stir something faint and aching in his heart. Lucas Fu knew. What truly destroyed him wasn't the moment she left. It was the quiet, ordinary moments afterward when he suddenly remembered some small thing about her, and the pain of that was worse than death. The house was restored to exactly how Camila had left it. He had reacquired Eros, the painting she once donated to charity, and hung it once again in the entryway. After work, he would stand there for long periods, staring at it in a daze, pretending she was still there. But he knew better than anyone. That person would never come back again.